Hello and welcome to our first Fashion Open Studio talk of our series. Fashion Open Studio is an initiative of Fashion Revolution, and this talk series is a collaboration with Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. I'm really excited to talk with you today about the wonderful topic of repairs and restoration, how we can prolong the life of our clothing. The Fashion Revolution, who doesn't know about it, it's an initiative that was founded in 2013 after the Rana Plaza disaster in Bangladesh. Since then, it has grown into like a global movement of different between like citizens, policymakers, and brands that try to change the way how we deal with clothing. So this year's topic of the Fashion Revolution Week is money, fashion, power. We still see problems that the fashion industry is built upon exploitation and the exploitation of labor and natural resources. The wealth and power is concentrated on a few. Also, with the prevalent crisis in Russia attacking Ukraine intensifies, we see more than ever, we are reminded how important it is also how fashion can bring in a sign and holds a deeper symbolism than it used to be. So, as we are all global citizens, we all have the power to take action. So I'm really excited to talk now with my guests and experts today how we can start this revolution of restoring and repairing clothing and also change the way how we care about our clothing. My name is Lea Luisa Strasburger. I'm a journalist and a visual storyteller. So, before we start with our experts, that I will introduce in a second, I would like to know from the audience who here is involved in sustainable fashion in some way or another. Okay, only a few. And who here is involved in restoring or repairing clothing? None. Okay. Oh, one. So yeah, so we see there's like we still can do a bit more about this. So yeah, we should start talking with our expert how we can change that. Next time we talk about this topic, everybody raises their hands, possibly. So I will start with Arianna Nicoletti. You are founder of Circular Fashion and again a guide. You are like a Berlin-based entrepreneur working in sustainable fashion, and I called you before in our one-to-one talk an activist because you have so many different projects that you initiated in the past 10 years. I cannot even call them all out. But what we should really say, you're a chairwoman of the NGO Circular Fashion Berlin or Circular Berlin. And you're also a founding member, actually, of the Fashion Revolution Germany. You support the campaign since 2014. But today we don't want to talk about fashion revolution because we have to congratulate you. Yesterday you launched the platform Again Guide, a guide that shows Berliners how they can most efficiently repair or restore or rent out their old clothing. So we want to hear more about this fun ways how to prolong the life of clothes. Next one, we all probably know her when we have been there yesterday. Sofia Ilmonen, I'm really excited to have you here. I told you a little bit, I'm a big fan of your designs. You opened the show yesterday. You opened the Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week yesterday with your show, and which stuck into my head was actually with the quote, I was inspired by the idea of hope and freedom. This is how you started your show. So I think sustainability is dear to your heart, and I will love to hear more about this. But who doesn't know her yet? She's a graduate of the London College of Fashion, and before you moved back to Helsinki, you worked with in different roles with different designers. For example, also Alexander McQueen. But most important is you won the last year's the Sustainability Award of the prestigious mode festival des Hier. I hope I say it right. Yes. So congratulations on that. And you have like a wonderful, your designs are wonderful. And yeah, we hear more about this like in a second. And last but not least, Grit Thönnissen, who is like a fashion editor of their Tagesspiegel. But not only this, you're also actually you have some. I think you're a trained tailor when I remember that right. And you said, and also in our discussion, you repair and restore some of your clothing, especially yours and the one of your little son, I think, right? So I'm really excited to hear more about this. Some organizational notes. Don't want to talk the next hour alone with our beautiful guests. I will hand over the discussion quite quickly to you. So, yeah. But before we're starting with Arianna. Maybe you can tell us about your launch yesterday. What exactly is the Again Guide? And yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Lea. And welcome from my side too. I'm very pleased to sit here today and talk about repairing, which is, kind of very important topic in my life, professional and also personal life. The Again Guide, yes, we launched yesterday this, actually we launched one tool on the Again Guide. The Again Guide is an online platform for Berliners to know how to prolong the life of their unwanted clothes. So it is a platform that we launched together with the government in Berlin already in September last year with one first tool. This was an extensive mapping of the whole recovery supply chain for textiles, so like the local ecosystem for repairing, upcycling, donating clothes, swapping clothes, renting clothes, and all the options that we have to keep our clothes longer alive. And this one first tool is also connected with a filter system, so that actually the user is able to look for the service she or he really need, and also to look for the neighbors, the district where she or he lives. And so this is the first tool we've been launching last September during Fashion Week, and for this Fashion Week we decided to program a very interesting and gamificated and interactive guide. The second tool is called the Guide, so I really hope you're all going to try it out today. It is more, is it an interactive questionnaire, I would say, is for Berliners to have it even easier to find the right option, the right solutions for their unwanted clothes. So the user goes through a series of questions about their clothes, look like very crucial characteristics of the clothes they don't want to wear anymore, such like the conditions of them, why they can't or don't want to wear these clothes anymore, but also which quantities and what they would like to do with this. And one of the answers could be, I don't know. So the guide would, in this case, give even more options to the people. But of course, depending on the answers of the users, you're going to have a very tailored answers and options that are given from the guide. And all of this is made open source, so we didn't create a platform that is only for Berlin, but we are calling out for all organizations in other cities and in other countries to just replicate it. So the code is open for non-profit organizations. They can just tell us they want to make one Again Guide for their cities, and we are going to help them to do this.
There's someone here outside of Berlin who would like to start the Again Guide in their city. Or we ask this question maybe in the end. Can you tell us a bit more? This actually sounds great, Arianna. But what my question that pops up is also, what were the challenges when you started working on this idea?
I think one of the biggest challenges was to reach out to all these businesses out there. We were overwhelmed by the quantities, like how many of these alteration shops, shoes repairing shops are out there. I think we mapped more than 1,500 hotspots in town for repairing, sharing, reselling, and so on. I think the ones that were most difficult to reach were really like the alteration shops and the shoemakings. They have like craftsmanship people. They are not so much in the digital world. They do not use the digital world, websites, emails to reach to their customers. And so sometimes they even don't speak the language because, we have to say that these small businesses, like the skilled people working within these small businesses, usually come from low-income communities and even marginalized communities. So yes, this was quite an challenge to overcome. And at one point, we found ourselves to write letters in 8 different languages and send them out in the city. So of course, you can always find solutions, but this is maybe one open question for later for the discussion. How can we bring this this ecosystem of local small businesses within the change towards a more circular fashion system? How can we uplift these professions so that these skilled people are actually earning according to the value they create within the society?
Thank you, Arianna. I'm very excited to hear more about this a bit later, but now to you, Sofia. You're the winner of the Sustainability Prize of the Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week. And I would love to hear a little bit more about your design approach. What does sustainability mean to your practice? And also maybe when you started designing, like when did you have the idea, it has to be sustainable?
I think that has been from the beginning for me to be sustainable. And the modular concept that I'm doing now, it didn't come to me overnight, but it was almost like 2 years of developing that through my master's studies at Aalto University. So kind of bit by bit, it came together how it looks now. But the driving force for sure was like, do fashion a bit differently. And I think for me, one sentence that I heard when I was like doing more research, it was someone saying about sustainable fashion and how that is contradictory in a way that fashion is always changing and evolving, but sustainability is more about stability and longevity. So I was like, okay, so how could these two be together and still do like fashion, but sustainably? So then in the end, the concept, what I'm doing, so it is modular, transformable collection. And it's quite simple, actually. All the modules are squares, but it has this structure, so it can be gathered to fit, and then with button and loop, so quite traditional mechanism, but then designed and 3D printed especially for this concept. So the pieces can be taken apart and then built back together in a new form and new silhouette. So it's almost like Lego blocks, you know, those have been here for how long, and I used to play them when I was a kid. So it's kind of like that playfulness within that transformable fashion. And yeah, this collection that was showcased yesterday, it's created entirely with the same modules as I had in Year Festival. So it's actually, I haven't sewn any more modules, but I just have transformed it to a new silhouette, a new story. So in a way, how I think about sustainable fashion, it's the circularity. So these building blocks, they stay the same, but then the form can be different. So that's my idea, that when you get one module or modular garment, that will stay with you hopefully forever, but how you change, how your tastes change, the dress or the garment can change with you.
So you actually just answered my next question, because it would have been like, how would you say is like repairing or restoring clothing part of your designs? But you say because of the transformation, you restore them again and again and again in a way,
exactly.
which is quite great. So we saw you as like quite a small collection that you designed. That you say you can remodel and stuff, but what I'm also quite interested in, because all the people that sit here are already kind of interested in this kind of topic, or you wouldn't be here, I guess. But what I'm also interested in, how can we make sustainable fashion more accessible for the masses? We saw that big brand companies, the last one that comes to my mind is Shein, had like a huge success. They work a lot with like greenwashing and that. So how can we change the mindset of the buyer that that they see fashion more as an investment and not just another dopamine rush? What would you say?
Well, I think that's with the garments that I create as well. Obviously, like one module, it can take up to 9 hours to do just one module. And then if you think about on one garment, there can be 12 to 25 modules. So you can imagine the kind of craft that goes into those. But then it kind of like, yeah, it will be an investment, but then it makes sense because the garment is meant to last with you a long time. So yeah, I think it's about like really thinking about the value of a garment through that, like how much work goes into it. Like it can't be just like thrown away straight away. So, but I think how it can be reached the masses, I think that is a big question. Even like me reaching to my customers and my audience with this particular concept, it is a bit of a challenge because it's a new way of doing fashion.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a completely switch of mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Grit, you're like a fashion editor of the Tagesspiegel, and I heard that I said that in the beginning, you also repair your own clothes. So, what's the last thing that you repaired or restored? We start like
yeah, that was a trouser of my son, because it's very often necessary to repair his clothes, and especially on the knees. So I think that's, yeah, very common, and that is also the reason that it's more my topic to think about how we can repair things. And I recognize that also my readers are very interested in this topic, because they don't know so much about it. So that they, I think, we are not used to think about it. So because most of the clothes are today too cheap to think about it, and that's, yeah, and that we have really to change. And I yeah, and that's yeah, and this is, I have a huge box with clothes in so it's waiting for repair. So it's I really love that, to do that. Yeah.
Thank you. And you already said that your readers are already more interested in how you can repair and restore clothes or change the way we care about the clothing. So what would you say when you observe the past years? You work in journalism. Did the wording change? Are the people more? Do they want to read more about sustainability, repairing and restoring? Also, when you look at your colleagues, how did the topic change over the past years, or would you say no, not really?
Yes, sustainability is much more a topic, and it's very important to write about it, because I'm write very often about more small design, or so labels, not so only the big ones, and so for them very often sustainability is the beginning of the story. So I think Sofia is a perfect example of that. So it's not possible to write about her work without to mention the sustainability, or the fact, or that it's, and I think the people outside want to know, okay, which who can I trust? Or what is, because yeah, greenwashing is, I think, also a big topic, and so I teach young fashion journalism and young journalists, and for them the starting point is every time the research on the homepage of the sustainability report. So they look, okay, is this so? And this is also a reason to say, no, I can't write about it. It's not sustainable enough, and that it's really changing. That it's a reason to write about, or not to write about it, and to be very critical. So that's for me also interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, it is quite interesting, which brings me kind of back to the idea of the Again Guide, because also this is a very specific community that that the guide is addressed to. So, how, like, what I'm still wondering is how can we address, like, really go out of this little communities. This is actually a question I could address to all of you, but maybe Arianna, you can say what has to be done. How can we change the mindset of the buyer, for example, also? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I think the Again Guide doesn't address a small niche, so we really created like the platform to reach all the Berliners. We have started with 2 languages, but actually we're planning to add more Berlin languages since we have many. But also we have like now an advertisement campaign going on since yesterday night in whole Berlin U-Bahn stations. We are in cinema spots, and what we decided to do for this campaign, for this advertisement campaign of the Again Guide, is like to take really like everyday problems and show them. So you will find, I don't know, like you will see on our social media in the next days our campaign. We work together with influencers and actors. They all volunteered for the project because of course, they find it very good, and they supported us so much. Also, like our advertisement partners, like the cinema and the U-Bahn stations, they are like doing it for free for us. So that's great support we found along the way. But also, like we really created this campaign to reach everyone. So you will have like a picture, like a fashionable picture, kind of. Zalando advertisement, but behind it is like, oh, my jacket has, I don't know, holes from moths. What can I do? Help me. And this is something like a problem everyone has, no? Like every winter we open our wardrobe and who doesn't find like moths inside? It's every time I ask myself, okay, where to bring this? Who is able to repair like this kind of garment? And now there's the Again Guide there, and I can just ask the Again Guide.
Wonderful. So I would like to open the floor for questions from the audience. Are there any questions in the moment? So when you have questions, just please raise your hands and yeah. Yes. Maybe can you stand up because you're quite far away so we can hear you.
Well, the circular fashion, what I maybe explained already, that I feel like my design, my concept goes into that box, although it's not, it's meant to kind of like circle in between maybe the wearer, the customer, and maybe the designer. So what goes, this is not yet happening because I'm quite on early stages of this concept. But the transformation, I mean, if you want to do it yourself and you want to kind of like put your own make on the garment, you can obviously, but also you can always return the garment and get it transformed into a new season style, and then it goes back to you and you can enjoy the same color, same modules, but in a different form. So that is kind of like a product service system, so in a way it circulates there. And I guess then when it comes to the end, then I mean, I'm still working on the material side, that they would be maybe monomaterial, so then it could be easier to recycle. But I think that's my take on circularity. Yeah.
Yeah, I think vintage is also a big topic, especially in Berlin, I think. So because when you talk about repair clothes. So it's quite difficult to repair new clothes very often because the seam allowance is too small and the material is not good enough, and there comes vintage in the game, because I think vintage. So a lot of young people appreciate vintage because it's from a good quality, and a lot of designers work with old clothes to make wonderful new clothes from it, because we had yesterday one example of a young designer. He works with old Chanel jackets or laces from the 30s, and so that's wonderful. So, and that's really a value, to work with old clothes, I think.
Grit, I want to ask you something about that, because we know that Berlin has a long history of like seamstresses. Do you think this is like prevalent until today? Is that like specific in this city that people like to work with vintage clothing, or would you say no, that's all over Europe or in the world like that nowadays?
No, I think that's not the reason. So it's more because it fits to the Berlin style. So, and that's more a recent thing, not a traditional.
I would like to add something, also coming back to Carmen's question. How important are these new business models for more circularity within wardrobes? And I think they are essential for our cultural shift towards really being more sustainable consumers. I think we need a variety and a diversity of digitized concept, and also maybe offline concepts for borrowing clothes instead of owning clothes. And this is because our society needs to embrace the sharing economy. We need to embrace a new way of understanding ownership, and that of renting platforms is one step towards this change in our minds, in the way we buy, we use clothes, but also in the way we understand owning things, and also maybe resources, how do we want our planet resources to be shared within our planet population. So I think before I go too much into the metaphor, it's the metaphorical word, I really believe that the establishment of rental platforms are essential, are crucial for the establishment of a more sustainable fashion consumption.
Thank you. Very, very interesting, very quite similar but different answers. So thank you very much for that. Are there any more questions? Oh no, yes, please.
What advice would you have for young students, fashion students, on circularity? Not only the design part, but also the economic parts of fashion and the fashion retailers of the future. What advice would it be? Because it's also has economic value, of course, so everyone is studying to have an economic future. But if you have sustainability in mind, how do you balance that?
This probably is a good question for me, because I'm just trying to find the balance. I mean, I'm on the early steps of my brand, so I guess I have to just go and see how everything goes. But I think, I'm doing sustainable fashion, but also I want to grow sustainably. So I feel like I'm the heart and soul of this idea. So if there's not me, it will die down. So it's kind of like restoring my resources as well, and kind of like almost like slowing down a little bit, so that I can grow sustainably and actually be here to make a change, hopefully for future years to come. and I don't have too much experience of the retail side just yet, so I can't say too much of that. But if I'm thinking about like my studies, because that is quite recent for me as well, I found especially my master studies so kind of like freeing, because I had the chance to just go and experiment and be quite like, I wasn't thinking the result. I was like, okay, I want to do something differently. What could it be? So it was actually quite fun and freeing. Loads of mistakes and loads of things that didn't work. But for me, that worked perfectly, just to kind of like have an open mind and test different things. And especially with sustainability, I think there's still so much that we can do, like different ways of doing sustainability, not just concentrate on the material side, although that is of course important, but again, like what kind of different systems we can create. So yeah, definitely keep an open mind on that. Yeah.
You want to add something? No.
Well, so I'm a fashion designer. I studied fashion design, and I was very young when we first founded our brand. It was an upcycling brand. We used to use leftover materials from a local weaving mill and do very like unique series of men's shirts. And we've been having this brand for 7 years, and it was very hard. It was hard because we were working within a system that would not accept diversity. We were working like trying to bring our products in a market where buyers would just want to have like exactly the same products in exactly the same quantities 3 months later. It was not possible because we would use with leftover materials, so with very reduced amount of materials. And also we were working with small productions that were not able at all to keep the pace of fast fashion, and or either like slower, but still like the fashion stores that we have in our cities, and cities of any size, they all work with these systems. And also online shops, they all want to have every 3 months like a new charge of the same product. So we realized, okay, this is probably not the time, and we were much too early probably. We started in 2010 with the project. As designers, we also have this need to change the market within we work. Of course, now there are many forces, many stakeholders that are working together synergically to change the system, but also we have to decide what is the value we want to bring on this market. And this you have to have clear in mind. And this could be is also financial value, of course. There are different ways to overcome difficulties, but it's a hard profession, that of designer. I think Sofia can tell us. Also because you have to find your narrative. And but now, 2022, it is possible for brands of any size to build up like sustainable supply chains or more sustainable supply chains. So that's the chance you have, to be part of this transformation. And educate buyers and shops as well. Now, this is also sometimes, it should not be the task of a designer, but we have to do what we have to do sometimes.
So I would like to ask you a question to that. So do you think, there's actually a positive outlook a little bit, Arianna, thank you for that, because the topic is like, it's always like a little bit difficult when we compare sustainable fashion to fast fashion. So I would like to know, first of all, do you think that repairing and restoration will get more and more important in the textile industry besides the trends? Like we see it was like you, Sofia, you already like you already have like a new concept of like how you design your clothing, and you also talked about a grid with like how vintage is like more better for restoration because the quality usually of the textiles is better. Arianna, what do you think? This is really something that is coming like building up?
Yes, it's already very important. It is important because we have some laws coming in our nations, especially in Europe, we are all under the plans of the EU Green Deal, which of course is striving for a zero waste society and for a decarbonized society and decarbonized industries. And these within 2050 is not many years in front of us to get there. If we look at more regional legislations, also Berlin wants to become zero waste within 2030. This is really like 8 years from now. How are we building up a system to recirculate all the clothes that we wear, that we buy, that we produce and buy within 8 years? That's a big challenge. Of course, now we are all part of it, and we are working together from the different sides, design, information, like pilot projects in the city to achieve this. But yes, of course, repairing and restoring is becoming a big topic for big companies and corporates as well, because they have to comply. They have to comply to regulations. And so we see like a care and repair program by Zalando, which is also like a very positive experiment, I feel. I really hope it's still an experiment. It's not yet is there for people to try out. But if we want to be financially available, want to bring financial value to the company, they will stop. So all of you try it out, because it's a good chance to support as consumer this transformation. And you see, like in this care and repair program, they really try to work together with the local ecosystem of tailors and of repairing and alteration shops. So then we have another very big platform. It's called About You in Germany, second after Zalando. And they are working with upcycling now. So they're upcycling the leftovers from their collections, because also they're not allowed anymore to send the unsold clothes to incinerations. This is coming. Is Obhutpflicht is called in German. Is a strange word also for Germans, I think. But is a regulation that will come. No new clothes. So the clothes that are returned by the customers, as well as the clothes that are remaining unsold in shops, which is up like estimated to be 30% of everything what is produced is unsold. None of these clothes will be allowed to be sent to incineration or landfilling in the short future. So brands, they need to find solutions for this. And so yes, it's very relevant for them.
Yeah, so would you say it's like a mix of regulation and also incentives, and also from the pressure from the kind of the citizens that they want to buy more sustainable clothing? This will change eventually also the big brands to change their mindset. So it's like a mix of all of it.
Definitely is a mix of everything. But of course, yeah, we always try to, we get to the point we can get away with, you know, like, and after that, now we have to find solutions. So the way all brands will, in the next few years, all big brands and corporates try to find solution is, of course, also connected to obligations they have. And it's very, very important to highlight here the weight that governments have at this point, like as a stakeholder of this system. Are governments very, very crucial for the development of legislations that is supporting a more sustainable production, a more sustainable consumption of fashion.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Hi, it's me. My name is Stella. I'm a clothing engineer. I did my master's. So what you said now, I'm wondering about, do you think that open innovation and product development as a topic, to work more open-minded together with different kind of industries, do you think that could help to reduce, for example, resources like water or stuff like that? I was really wondering why you talked about Zalando
Yes, definitely. I agree with everything you're saying. These two companies I just mentioned, like to mention like big names that are getting interested into the topics of repairing. But yes, I totally agree. Still, they're the bad boys. And yes, open innovation, open as a word, we should use it more. In the fashion industry, there's so much competition, even sometimes within more sustainable designers. There's so much competition and everything is closed behind the curtains and you don't show the collection before is the show day and you don't share your supply chain. That's like the big rule in the big fashion industry. You don't tell the names of your supply chain because they could, like now, other brands could just go there and copy your styles and make better profit and better business out of this. And this is part of the cultural shift we need. And so the cultural shift is not only the societal one, but is like, of course, touching all stakeholders. And we need designers that are developing open source designs. We need bigger producers also that are producing and creating like open source pattern cutting and like now sharing more about also knowledge about materials. And so like as a designer you might pay a lot of money just to have like the knowledge you need in order to work in a more sustainable way. And that's I think working more openly and collaborative and bringing communities together is key. Yeah.
Yeah, Sophia, maybe what's your thought on that? Because you come from the more practical side right now about you have like a very innovative design. But what do you think about open innovation?
Yeah, I guess that there's a fine line of that. Like I'm not trying to like hide the technique so anyone could kind of like copy. But then I also think like, okay, I've worked how many years? 4 years to kind of like develop this concept, this structure. So if it's an open design, what's kind of like where does that lead? Like, would I still be able to do that, or would it make it better? I don't actually know what would be there. Is there a right way to do that? But I definitely agree on like opening up the kind of like other resources and kind of like coming together from different aspects of the industry, because when I'm a singular designer here, and well, in Helsinki there's not too much of industry to kind of actually collaborate there, but even like in Europe, I would appreciate that a lot if there would be a more of an open community where I could then easily find sustainable materials or the actual manufacturing, which I would know that, you know, some designers has already used that. So I think that way it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Until now you worked, don't have the feeling that it's already existing, a bigger community. I mean, you know what I mean?
No, I mean, there are loads of resources. I think how I'm thinking is that the community in Helsinki, maybe because the industry is rather small there anyway. But I think there are loads of designers who are interested in sustainability, so we definitely share our thoughts. But if I'm thinking a bigger industry, like the manufacturers and so on, I think there's some work to do for sure.
For sure, and maybe also it's not about just like sharing your own innovation. Maybe it's also just the idea of transformation of clothing. So I think you can find ways to share this idea, but not like give away your innovation. And like thank you, Sophia.
Yeah, absolutely.
I saw there was like another hand. I think yes.
She knows
And of Kriti, you want to?
I think there exist some workshops, and I agree that it's really important to go on into the schools and educate the public. But I think it's not. It's more, yeah. But what you say. So I heard from. I think it's a colleague from you. He's in this sustainable topic, and he taught the students to make I don't know, just a simple T-shirt, and they have to cut it and to sew it, and then to buy it, and then he said, okay, and now how much must it cost, and they say, okay, €100 because it was so it's a lot of work, and we can't give it away for €5, and I think that was really mind changing for them, and that is important to to talk about quality and really to do something, and not just to have this old-fashioned I don't know these hand knitting things in school. I was at a Waldorf school. I don't know, and we did a lot of things with our hands, and I think that's not the point. It's more the point to really, to have this, to feel really what it means for people. I don't know, in Bangladesh to make your T-shirt.
It is maybe a mix of everything. I agree with both of what you both said. I think, yeah, formal and informal education, they are both needed. I think that people should really have contact with manual skills again, because now we are losing our crafts and we are not giving value to now the work of who still have these crafts. But also, like, as consumers, we are not that passive anymore. Like, we have to keep in mind, through the digitalized world, we are also like customizers. We are co-designers for brands. There are brands doing like orders, like on-demand orders. So we decide we have to tell. And at the same time, there are also a lot of communities of crafters that are popping out on the internet, and they share their skills. We have a lot of channels, like YouTube channels and tutorials online, where we can learn if we want. And it's not totally true that only if you are in the fashion, like if you study fashion, then you are close to repairing. I studied fashion almost 15 years ago, and I had, like, in our course, it was a lot about like drawing and a lot about doing research on materials and how to make like the best in less time and like with the cheapest fabric on the market. But I had like maybe 20 hours of sewing lesson in all in all, so I didn't learn how to sew in a fashion school. So it's definitely really important, as you said, like that, to have this contact already as kids, but also like to keep on being curious, human beings, like as designers, but also like, as normal consumers, we can keep on being curious and look around and catch the opportunities that are out there to learn something new. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Probably 120 on sale. So to my mind as a consumer, I'm
Yeah, and I would like to add something to this question because it's a really good question. It's actually also on here. Maybe while answering that, you can also explain a little bit how repairing systems work in like ecosystems, like a city in Berlin, for example. Like I think it's connected in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the wrong thing there in your tail is that the new clothes, the new jacket would cost less than 40 bucks. So that's the big problem. But what governments can do, it's a lot. They can work on reducing taxations like they did in Sweden since already a couple of years, like alterations and repairing. They are taxed with less, like they have less taxation than like buying new clothes. So of course there the price is reducing, but also of course probably 40 euros was not like that high price. Probably it was already like on the very limit for the one person like repairing in the repairing shop to offer to you. So it's a mix of course we can push the price down for repairings, but also at the same time, like looking at taxes, not what the people earn, but of course at the same time we have to raise the price for like, unsustainable productions of new clothes, so that the new clothes, that like very low quality new clothes, are not that cheap anymore. And through like these shifts in the market, of course, we are going also to shift like our thoughts about repairing, and we would be happier to pay 40 euros to have a new jacket instead of spending much more money for having a new one. And some products that are produced nowadays in the fast fashion, they are not even repairable. We have to think about that. Like the materials are so bad, like the quality is so bad that you cannot repair them, and so like you have no other options than just throw them away and buy new ones. So yes, of course, there's a lot what can be done on a legislation level, but we come back, of course, on this paradigm shift that we need in general, and our perception as consumers of what the right price is for clothes. And looking at ecosystem, it is really like made of very diverse actors, and we should support them as much as we can because they are our local economy, and if we lose them, we might lose like really like also part of our heritage, because the way we make and repair, this is almost disappearing in our cultures. As also the other woman said before, is like our grannies, they were used to know how to repair everything, to make everything, and already my mother was only like sewing buttons. She was not able to like, she lost a lot of other skills because there was no need anymore. And yeah, so we really need to keep alive this ecosystem, and we really need to incentivize it and yeah, make it thrive.
Yeah, and maybe I can add to that, because I actually had a similar case quite recently. My friend actually, she had her favorite jacket, zip broke, and she was like, how can it be so expensive? I think in Finland the lowest price is maybe 50 euros or like 60 euros. And I was like, yeah, because it takes a lot of time, maybe 3 hours to fix a zip. And then if you think about the zip price, because you don't put the zip on a jacket, the last thing. It actually goes in on not an early stage, but still, so there's, you know, all the layers that are attached. Maybe there might be some like snap buttons attached, so it's really difficult to sew. So in a way, I understand, like for me, like £60 for a zip, whereas you could buy a new jacket for the same price, it doesn't make sense. So who would want to actually repair their jackets? But I did for her, so we've saved one jacket at least.
Well, Grit, you have thoughts on this? What we can do, or what the government?
Yeah, Sipa is really own topic because it's really difficult to change them. But so I bought a jacket at Patagonia because they promised to repair things, and for my son, and because always the zipper is broken, and so it's the zipper was broken too from his jacket, and I brought it back, and then they say, okay, I we give you a new one. And I'm sure that they didn't repair that. And I was, that was really not what I expected. So I don't like Patagonia anymore. So it's really changed. Yeah, my
Okay, good. I would take one last question from the audience. Yes, please. Let's hear that. Yes. Maybe, Grit, you want to start with this?
Yeah, I write about it, and I try to explain and not to so not. So it's. I think so. It's more a service for the reader to choose the right brands and to write and also to write about the initiatives like Arianna. So that's very important. I think that the readers really want this orientation to have, so to know, okay, this is what I can buy, because this is the most important thing to write about it. For me.
I completely agree that you kind of you are probably in that sustainable fashion bubble, and you think, well, everybody knows about this, but probably they don't. But I think if I think about my social media or my appearance, I kind of want to go. Obviously sustainable, like I said many times, it's really important for me and the whole base, but I kind of want to go the look and the spirit in first, and then it's beautiful pictures and lovely outfits, and then when you find about okay, what's the concept behind it. So more if sometimes I think people might kind of fear away from if it's too kind of forced the sustainability. So I think that's kind of I wouldn't say that it's necessarily my strategy, but I want to kind of go with the looks forward, and then you find about okay, there's this sustainability concept behind it. So I think that's something that I'm doing already. Yeah,
and that's a very, very important topic, because you encounter always so much criticism when you are talking about sustainability or doing something that you claim to be sustainable. Then everyone would come and say, no, this and the price is too high, and is this sustainable that you're actually working with disabled people? Because we were used to do for example our shirts in a sheltered workshop, and they are paid so less, and now and also family, they would always find, and close friends, they can be very bitchy and find very hard criticism where you think, okay, actually, what am I doing wrong? But I learned in the past 15 years that the best thing you can do is just to be positive about what you're wearing, what are your values, live your values, and let the people be inspired by the way you live your values. And that's it. If they say you are happy with this, they will try this out as well at one point.
Wow. Thank you very much. We talked about a lot of different topics, and yes, there's still a lot to be done, but there is also hope, as we heard. So We have to change the thing, how we think about like ownership of innovations, the way maybe the like your designs transforming clothes and making them like longer. We have to educate the buyers and the citizens, and we really need to incentivize and regulate the big companies if we want to change this on the big scale. So thank you very much. But before I close, I would like to know from each of you: is there any platform or like person which is like raising awareness in the social media that you follow or you can recommend? Grit, maybe you start.
I really like the platform Pool here in Berlin. They rent clothes, but they rent only garments for men. But they have really they have a really nice wardrobe you can collect, and that's nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, that reminds me. There's like two rental places in Finland, and they, especially Vaatepuu, which is one of them, they do really inspiring kind of like outfit like combinations, and like in a really fun way. So it's always fun to follow them and kind of like how they make renting look really fun and inspiring. But also, I mean, I think Fashion Revolution gives you the good hard facts there as well.
Of course.
Yeah, beside Fashion Revolution, I follow the Slow Factory in the US and the OR Foundation. OR Foundation, they work in Ghana, is a foundation working in Ghana with the topic of second-hand clothes, and it's really mind-blowing what they're posting and the kind of research they're doing. Check it.
Yeah, next to Fashion Revolution, I also love the platform Sustainable Fashion Matters, with like a Z in the end. I thank you so much, Grit, Sofia, and Arianna. It was a great talk. It's not so easy to talk about this stuff in the middle of the Fashion Week, but as we talked, fashion is like getting more and more important to put a stand. Also,
can I have a little bit of light?
Stand, especially in times of crisis. So I thank you also for your active participation. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the Fashion Week. Yeah, I would say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.